February 27th, 2025, and I hope you are having a wonderful day to this point. So, we're going to get right into it. Last week, Friday, we were talking about Genesis 12. Well, we were also talking about resetting. So, we were talking about sometimes you have to push the reset button in your life and just kind of slow down and chill out, basically, and allow God to do those things in your life that He wants to do, right? And you take your foot off the pedal, off the gas pedal, and you'll begin to see God doing things in your life and working in your life. And those things that you thought you had to get accomplished and those things that you thought you had to do all by yourself, nah, you don't have to get those things done by yourself. It's something that God wants to do in your life. And you just have to be willing to submit those things to Him and allow Him to do those things in your life. So that's what I mean by resetting. And we were talking about that Friday. Sometimes you just have to stop. You have to figure out what's important, what your priorities are. And you know what? You have to just reconfigure some things. And sometimes that happens. That's just life. Hey Joshua, how are you today? Good morning. Yep, first. And sometimes that's just how it goes. That's life. You have to be willing to take the passenger seat. That's where you should be anyway. Let God be in the driver's seat and let God take control of your life and do those things in your life that He sees necessary and important. So that's what we were talking about on Friday. This is a recap, but also we're going to talk about some more stuff because I want to just give you a heads up about this conversation. So we were talking about Abram, who later becomes Abraham, and Sarah, his wife, who was this. All right, you all are gonna have to just take this ride with me and brace yourself because we may get into a little bit of a heavy conversation for some of you, and I'm suggesting that you share this out with somebody else because if you want to take deep dives into the Bible, hey OG Brand, how you doing? Oh, my nose is itching again. If you want to take deep dives into the Bible, which is what I like to do here, get ready because that's what we're about to do. Now, I just want to let you know, this is in no way, shape, or form a way for me to like come for somebody who was in the Bible. It's not that at all. It's just that I want you all to see who this person is in totality, like as much as we can. And it's just to show you that God does not, that none of us are perfect. That's the first thing. None of us are perfect. And God can use imperfect people, right? God can use imperfect people. In fact, He uses all those imperfect things that we do and all those decisions that we make and all those things that He wants us to do. He just uses them all and He combines all those things for our good. So my point in going through Genesis today, the way that we're going to do it, and you saw the chapter, Abram's wife is also his sister. I knew that would capture somebody's attention, but it will also get you in here talking about the Bible. And yes, we're going to talk about that. The title's not a lie. But we're going to take deep dives and figure out why some of these things existed. So let's do it. God is still a healer. Yes, He is, Brand. Joshua, you still looking... Hey, Brand, good morning, Geeky Girls Journal chat. Hey, Garden, how are you this morning? You're back. Look at God. So listen, you all already know if there is something that you're feeling or something that you had thoughts about while I'm talking, you already know to put them in the chat because this is a learning environment. We're learning together. I don't know everything, neither do you, so I don't feel bad about it, but we're going to learn this stuff together. And I'm just going to take everything right from the Bible. I'm not making up things. I'm just going to give you my thoughts and my interpretations as we talk about it. So feel free to chime in and join in on the conversation because that's what this is all about. We're a community. We're a community and we're learning together. If you're happy and you know it, that's right. Clap your hands. Yes, I'm here. Geeky Girl, speak your mind. Of course, I will. You already know. So Genesis 12 is where we started and where we left off. Hey, Prince Daniel, good morning. How are you? Good seeing you. I saw you last night. Was it last night? I think it was. So, yeah, Genesis 12 is where we were talking about, and I know I'm turned a little bit sideways. That's because I have to be. I have in this chair, and I have my laptop because I'm using my laptop to pull my Bible verses up. So just bear with me, you all. If you see me look in this direction, that's because I'm pulling up my Bible verse, all right? And like I said, I want to take all these things from the Bible. So Friday we were talking about Abraham, and we had gotten into the point where Abram, he was Abram then, not yet Abraham, where he was telling Pharaoh and the people in Egypt that Sarah was his sister, not his wife. Now, someone came along in the chat section and brought up the point that Abram's wife was also his sister. Right now, I know some of you are probably like, ew, that's gross. Let's think about the time that we're, that these things happen back in the Bible days. So that was not uncommon. That happened, right? Okay, I know some of us are like, that's gross. Even I thought it when I first read it. I was like, whoa, that's incest. But I don't know. What do you all think about that? Do you all think that they did that to keep, the family line, the bloodline? I don't know. I don't want to make things up for you. What are your thoughts about that? Why do you think they did that during Bible days? Why do you think a brother would marry a sister or a cousin? Because we have some of that too, where cousins marry cousins. So what do you think about that? Let me know in the chat mess. Let me know in the comment section. And we're going to keep on going while you're thinking your thoughts. Hey, Brian. Good morning. How are you? Family line. Yes. Eric Sima. I hope I said your name right. Are you new here? Good to see you. If you are, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for coming in. And yes, family line. That was my thought, to keep the family line. Garden Inspiration says populate the earth. Yes, because that is actually something that we're supposed to do, right? Be fruitful and multiply. So we see that with Adam and Eve. Think about it. Adam and Eve were what? The first humans here. So they probably had sisters and brothers marrying each other and cousins marrying cousins, right? They had to populate the earth. That's something to think about, right? So if you think some more, just keep on going. And hi, God bless you. God bless you as well. Thank you for coming in. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Brian, okay. Brand, I'm going to let you go ahead in the chat today because you keep it live. You keep everybody smiling. So keep on. God bless you. People, please hit the like up and share the live and put the bell on. Share Geeky Girl Live. Oh, thank you, Brian Lynn. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Please share it, everybody, because we want the word of God to get out. This is not about me, but this is about Christ. This is about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. I've learned it's not about me at all. It's not about me at all. God can use me the same way that he can use you, the way that he sees fit. I'm just a vessel. And that's why I said, I don't know everything here. You don't know everything. So we're good. We're learning together, right? We're learning together. And that's what this is all about. We don't want to ever just read the Bible, right? Just for the sake of reading it. We want to read the Bible for understanding. So that's why in my time, you all, I like to really, really dig deep because I have so many questions. When I meet Jesus, when I see God face to face, I hope I can bring my notebook because I have a lot of questions for him. I have a lot of questions for him. I ask them now. That's why I encourage you to ask questions now. But, I realize some things I just may not know until I meet God. You girls, you know that you're my big aunt. All right, I'm big aunt. So, yeah, we may have questions. And until we see him face to face, this is how we can find things out in communities, right? We can find things out like this by asking questions and talking things through. So Genesis 12 was where we were. I'm going to kind of give you all an overview of certain chapters. And then, because I know I don't plan to be on here long. I just want to try to do a half hour because I don't want to take a lot of your time. So I'm going to try to do a half hour. So I'm going to really go over some of the chapters quickly. Chapter 12, and I wrote myself a couple notes to try to stay on task. So Genesis 12 is where we left off on Friday. We talked about Abram. It wasn't Abraham. Yeah, we talked about Abram. And we talked about him in Egypt where the Egyptians saw his wife and thought she was beautiful. And they took her to the palace. And Abram allowed all this to happen because, in fact, he's the one that told her, hey, Bud Files, how you doing? Because Abram was the one that told his wife, Sarah, to tell the people that was his sister, right? He said, tell people you're my sister so that I'll be well, things won't happen to me, and you'll spare my life, basically. So she did that. Hey, Claire, how you doing? So he said that tell everybody you're my sister, and then they'll spare your life. In the meantime, they were, Abram was blessed. He was blessed because they took her to the palace and they started hooking Abram up with all types of things. So he had lots of possessions. All right. So that's chapter 12. If you want to peruse through chapter 12 or take another deep dive another day, we could do that, because maybe one day I'll just break it up by chapters. So then Genesis 12 and 17, that's where I wanted to go. Genesis 12, chapter 12, verse 17. I wanted to refresh your memory with this Bible verse. It is 12:17. Let me go to the book of Genesis 12:17. I know he's in Egypt at this point. Yeah, we missed you too, Claire. But the Lord, okay, this is the part I wanted you all to take note of, because remember, Abram told Sarai, I don't know if you said Sarai back then, but I know her name is Sarah now. So we'll just say Sarai, Sarai is how you spelled it, right? So he told her to do that. Then they went to the palace. He got possession. And then in 17, but the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife, Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. What have you done to me? He said. Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Right? That is a natural question to ask. Like, why won't you tell the people that that's your wife? And we all know why he didn't tell everybody that was his wife. He didn't want to lose his life, right? He didn't want to lose his wife because she was such a beautiful woman, and they all recognized that. So he didn't want to lose his life. So that's why they came up with this story to tell the people, the Egyptian people. So behind this lie, Pharaoh and his household suffered. And then they were just like, hey, they wanted to try to get rid of her. Okay, listen, that's your wife. Then Pharaoh gave, I'm going to just read it. I don't want you all to, I'm going to read exactly what it says. So he says, what have you done to me? Then why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister so that I took her to be my wife? Because remember, he took her to be his wife, and everybody was praising her beauty. The people in that area, the Egyptians were like, oh, she's so beautiful. And they took her to Pharaoh. And then Pharaoh was like, okay, now I'll take her, which I had a problem with because, all right, I asked some of you all this last Friday, but for those of you who were not here, what do you think about that? Would you want your spouse in a palace or in a house with another man or another woman? Maybe I'll do another survey so that you can answer that way if you don't feel comfortable saying it now. But would you want your spouse in the house with another woman or another man? No, I'm going to tell you what my answer is. Negative. No, I would not want my spouse in the household with another person. And plus, let's think about it. God never told Abram to say that. He told him to go to this land and to do this. He gave him clear instructions. He didn't say, tell the people that that's your sister. He never told him to say that. See, there he was trying to fix an issue. Just like we do sometimes. We're like, okay, I got a good idea. I know how to fix this problem. God didn't tell me to do this, but I'm going to fix it. I think I should do whatever it is that you come up with. I think I should do that. I think I should do this. My OG channel was Claire, but I changed it. But you can still call me Claire if you want. Oh, okay. Whichever one you want to go with. You want us to just call you Low-Key? I call you Low-Key. That's easier. Okay, let's see. Hey, Mr. Terry, how you doing? Grand Rising, good morning. So, yeah, I don't know about you all, but I'm a married woman, and it is no way that I'm allowing my husband to go be up in the palace with somebody else. That is not happening. Am I in the palace with him? Are we in the same bed? No. Well, why is he in the palace? No, that's not happening. And you all, I gave you my answer. It's a negative. My husband's not going to be in the palace. And if God told me to go to this place, I'm just expecting that he's going to make provisions, right? He's going to make provisions for me when I get there. So God didn't tell him this detail in particular, right? He didn't, because I guess maybe Abram was like, okay, what do I do in this case? I think I'm just going to tell her this so that we can both be spared, so our lives won't be in jeopardy. So sometimes we do that. We like to fill in a blank. When God tells us to do something and we don't have all the information, we might want to fill in the blank. We're human. And sometimes we just were like, okay, Lord, you're not talking to me. What do you want me to do next? Am I alone in this? Does anybody understand? Like, does anybody ever go through that where you feel like, Lord, I did what you wanted me to do, but I don't have all the answers. I don't know what else you'd like for me to do. Guess I just got to fill in the blank and make it up. Guess I just got to figure this out for myself. And sometimes he wants us to figure things out for ourselves, right? So Abram took it upon himself to figure this thing out. Now, looks to me like what he said has some repercussions, right? There were some things that he had to deal with because they told this lie. Now, this was not 100% a lie, you all. I found that out. I want to tell you where I found the answer. Oh my goodness. I put it on my Bible notes. Let me see if I can. Uh, I have to try to find the verse because I'm using my cell phone, and that's why I put my notes. And I write notes to try to remember things, not necessarily to go back and like read them again, but just to remember things. I'm trying to remember where it was in Genesis. I'm gonna try to Google something and try to get me to that verse, and then I'll look the verse up, and then I'll let you know exactly where it is in the Bible. But he wasn't lying, you all. I thought at first that he was lying when he told everybody. I'll be back later, hopefully. Okay, see you later. Have a good day, low key. So, yeah, I thought initially he was lying, just lying and saying, tell the people you're my sister. But it turns out he wasn't lying about that. She really is his sister. Let me see if I wrote it down in my notes. I think let me see. I know how to do it. Okay, I'm going to find it. Dismiss notifications. Please hit the like button. It really helps this YouTube channel get a positive rating from the YouTube algorithm. It also helps this YouTube channel's videos to be exposed to more new subscribers, right? And that's what we are concerned with. Concerned with getting the word of God out and also sharing it with others so that they can learn more about Jesus and have a deeper relationship. That's what I'm here for. So we're just working on all those things together. So, no, it says half sister. Okay, Genesis 20 and 12. That's where I saw it. Let me look it up. Genesis 20 and 12. Genesis 20. So we're going to skip to 20 first, and then we'll backtrack because I want you all to know exactly where I saw it in the Bible. Genesis 20, Abraham and, okay, so this is a part, and I have in the title, I think, Genesis 12 through 20, because all this part is important, the whole 12 through 20, chapters 12 through 20. So read it in your time with Jesus, and you'll be right on track where I am. So in Genesis 20, this is when, and I'm jumping so far ahead, oh my goodness, but I'm just going to have to come back. This is when Abraham is now Abraham and Abimelech. I don't know if I said the name right, but Abimelek. Abimelek is the person's name. And Abraham told this man the same lie. Well, truth. It's the truth. It's a truth and a lie. He told this man the same lie that he told the pharaohs, which was he told Sarah to tell them that that their sister and brother, so that the same thing wouldn't happen. Okay, so if we shimmy on down to verse 12, we're in chapter 20 and we're going to verse 12. Okay, and again we'll come back. We'll backtrack, but I just want to tell you all this because I just brought it up. So this is how we're gonna do it. So in chapter 20, Genesis chapter 20, verse 12, it says, besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. Did you all hear what I just said? That is his what? Half sister? Because that is his sister from his father. They just don't have the same mother. I'll read it again. Besides, she really is my sister. Genesis 20 and 12. She really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. Okay. Let me put Genesis 20 and 12 down so I don't forget what that is again. Genesis 20 and 12, because that is what I was looking for anyway. 20. Oh, and it says 20 and 2. Okay, Genesis 20 and 2, he said it too. 20 and 12. Okay, Genesis 20 and 2. I wrote that down. What's that say? Okay. Yep. Okay, so Genesis 20 and 2. Yep, thank you for dropping your link, Brian. I see you. Okay. Okay, Genesis 20 and 2 also makes reference to that being his sister. It says, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, she is my sister. Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. So he did the same thing, almost same thing that happened with Pharaoh. And then in 20, and again, I'll backtrack you guys. In chapter 20, God came to, yes, he did it 2 times, at least 2 times. You catch it, you following, you drop, look, you picked up what I dropped down. But do you all see this? He's not a perfect person. He's not perfect because he lied. He he lied. He did tell the truth that it's his sister, his half sister, but he lied to try to save himself, right? To save himself, and he also didn't completely follow God's orders, right? He kind of filled in the blanks and did things that he wanted to. Okay, Mr. Terry, I think is trying to say something, so we'll see it in a minute. But yeah, so the same thing happened. And then with Abimelech, it says God came to him in a dream. This is verse 3, chapter 20, verse 3. But God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, you are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman. God told him she's a married woman. So he's like, oh my God, what have you done to me? Like he's saying now he's like, now Abimelech had not gone near her. So he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? He's like, I didn't touch her. I didn't do anything. Will you destroy me because I didn't do this? And he's like, so now he goes back to Abraham. He's like, let me find it because I don't want to get ahead of myself. So in verse 5 of chapter 20, it says, did he not say to me, she is my sister? And then she also say, he is my brother. So he's like, both of them told me that they were siblings, right? And he says, I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. He's like, I didn't do anything. I was told that they were sister and brother, and I took her, but I didn't do anything. I'm clear. Lord, please don't, please don't have please don't deal with me in the way that you might want to. So he's like pleading, basically, I didn't know. And then God said to him in a dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, so I have kept you from sinning against me. And so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. Okay, so he says, but if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die, be unalived, right? Early the next morning, this is verse 8, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done. So he's like, wow, how could you do this to me, right? And so then Abraham basically told him, so Abimelech is asking, what was your reason for doing this to me? And then he says, Abraham, he's not Abram now. Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will unalive me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. When God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about kind of like he's telling the truth, but he's being a little manipulative and deceitful in that. And I just wanted to point that out to you all because sometimes we all think that we have to be perfect, right? We have to think we have to be perfect to come to God first, to give our life to Christ. We got to think everything has to be perfect. God's not going to accept me because I've done this, I've done that. You know, I don't understand why He can love somebody like me, right? But then we see the characters in the Bible, like Abraham, who was Abram, who did things like this, and God blessed him and created nations through him. And He said that, you won't even be able to count how many descendants you have. It'll be like grains of sand. So if He can bless somebody like that, Abraham, if He can bless somebody who did things like this, He can also bless your life. And He can also, be a part of your life and change your life. Now, Abraham was not like he wasn't just a liar, because he did lie in this part of the Bible. So he wasn't just a liar. He had other issues, and it didn't matter. God was still able to use him, right? And he was still somebody that God favored and that God showed grace and mercy. So the whole point of this entire conversation, not to mention, let me backtrack, because we're talking about chapter 20 right now. I wanted to go over quickly, and I'll do that because I got about 4 minutes left. In Genesis 13, we can talk about some of the issues that Abraham and Lot, his nephew, had. Because remember, Abraham brought his nephew Lot along with him, along with some of their people. So Abraham had some of his people, and Lot had some of his people. What happened was, when they got to this land, they had so many possessions that it just could not, they didn't have enough space for the both of them. So Abraham and Lot, in Genesis 13, 5, they both had, let me go to Genesis 13. Let me backtrack, because I'm getting too far ahead and I'm looking at my time and I'm like, I need to hurry up and get this out. So Genesis 13, we're going to go backwards to get the rest of this. Genesis 13 is when Abram and Lot separate. You're doing a good job keeping up, Mr. Terry. Today I actually wrote the chapters down so I can put them in the description after this. So Genesis 13:5. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And so they started quarreling, and they started arguments, and they started having disagreements because the land could not contain both of them. So in verse 7, slow down. In verse 7, and quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, this is in verse 8. So Abram said to Lot, let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. He didn't want any bickering because they were nephew and uncle. So he said the best way that we can do this is just to separate. You go your way, I'll go my way. So in verse 10, we'll scroll down. In verse 10, Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, of course. Hey, Frugal Mama, how you doing? So this was before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. You know that story where he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because of the things that they were doing there. They were into some things, and you can look at that in verse 13. Okay, so right now, Lot is looking at the land, and he's like, hey, I'm going to take that land, right? He may have been a little bit selfish when he was picking the land, because he said that land looked good. It looked like the land that was in Eden, which also looked like the land in Egypt. So it looked well watered, probably like a place where he can prosper, right? And possibly make money and just thrive. So he took that land, and then Abram took, I'm trying to think about what part he took. Let's see. So Lot chose, this is verse 11. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Okay, we know Sodom and Gomorrah, the story. Good morning, official. Now, we already also know that there were some wicked things happening in Sodom. You can read more about that in chapter 13. Okay, now in Genesis 14, and remember we backtrack, Genesis 14, you get to the part where Abram goes to what? Rescue Lot. Something went down, and then Abram was like, I'm going to get my nephew, basically. He didn't think about it. He was like, let's go. I'm going to go get my nephew. You want to know about that one? That's chapter 14. Or we can backtrack another day. I wanted to get you all out of here earlier than an hour, so we're trying to do it. So in Genesis 15, that was 14. He went and rescued Lot. And then in Genesis 15, the Lord made a covenant with Abram. Remember the covenant? When he took his son on that hill? And you can read what went down. 15:4. In Genesis 15:4, I'm going to give you an idea if you don't know. In Genesis 15:4, here is a good summary of what happened. Here's a good summary, and you can read the rest at another time, or we can talk about it later. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. So in Genesis 4, I missed the part. Genesis 15, he's talking about Abram and Sarah conceiving a child, right? And after this all happened, they're talking about conceiving a child. And then I feel like I'm really rushing through this. So I'll probably talk about these chapters tomorrow more in depth. Like maybe we can just take it chapter by chapter because it's a lot in Genesis. And I thought I would break it down and kind of give you all a summary of each and do that all within 30 minutes. Who am I kidding? I don't even know if I can do that. So let me just slow it down because I feel like it's really rushed. I don't want to rush through these things because, like I said, we're taking deep dives. We're not really trying to graze over the important things. We want to really focus and think about those things that are in the Bible and the thing that God wants us to see. And so I don't want to rush it. I want to just take my time with you all because you might have questions. I don't know. Do you have questions about anything we talked about so far? No? Okay, doesn't look like any questions right now. So in Genesis 15 and 4, that's where God, hold on, let me go to it. Genesis 15:4. Then the word of the Lord came to him, this man will not be your heir, because he was talking about his servants being his heir because he was too old to have children. He was saying that, I don't know how I'm going to have children. My wife and I are up there in age, and I don't know how this is going to happen. And God came to him and said, no, you're going to have your own son. And we can talk more about that. You're going to have your own son. And then in chapter 16, moving ahead, we talk about Ishmael and Hagar, right? Hagar left because she was upset because the lady of the house, Sarah, was treating her wrong because she didn't like what went down between Abraham and her mistress, which, by the way, she told them to do it, right? She told them. And like I said, I think I'm going to have to backtrack and go back to this. You all want to do this today, or we can just take deeper dives tomorrow. So Hagar left around Genesis chapter 16, between verse 6 and 7. You can read it and figure that part out. And then Genesis 19, that's when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. I cannot formulate, probably because you're moving too fast. I am moving too fast. So maybe I'll just give you all this summary, and then we can just come and the rest of this week just break down the chapters, because I even feel like I'm moving too fast. And I don't even know if you're able to get anything out of it when I'm moving at this speed. So that's what we'll do. Tomorrow we can talk about Genesis 13, because today really the point of this live was just for you all to see that even though Abraham, I'm just going to call them Abraham and Sarah right now, even though Abraham and Sarah were lying, but not really lying, about him being her brother and her being his sister. They were also husband and wife. So that's one of those situations. And we talked about it, maybe they wanted to do like preserve the bloodline, or they had to do that to populate the earth. So yeah, while we may think that's kind of like, why did they marry each other when they're brother and sister? Also, who else was on the earth? Think about it. Who else was there? Did they have, were most people their relatives? I'm asking you all this question. Were most people on the earth at their time their relatives? So maybe he couldn't marry anybody unless, maybe the only options he had was brother. Not brother. Maybe his options were very limited, right? Maybe his options were limited to family. And I don't know. It's just a question I'm asking you all. Were they just friends, or were they just family members? So maybe that's who he had to marry. I cannot formulate properly. Terry Jones is the only one who is pacing with the people. I know he is. Minister Terry, you on top of it. An heir is a person set receive another person's property after their death. Yes, and that is who Isaac would be to Abraham, right? He's his heir. He's his son. So we're gonna have to talk about this later, you all, because I feel like I'm definitely trying to cram like chapter 12 through 20 all in one live, and that is not possible without missing some things, because it's a lot. It's a lot. As I was reading each chapter, I was just like, whoa, I think I'm just gonna have to summarize it, but I think I have to do better than that. I can't just summarize it. Maybe we had to like just take a deep dive in each chapter. So we'll just start with chapter 13 tomorrow, because I don't want anybody to miss something. And if we go from 13 and 14, 15, 16, till we get to where we need to be, then we can talk about it in that way. If you all have questions, if I have questions, you already know I'm asking the chat. But if you all have questions, then we can just kind of go through it that way. And we won't feel like we're moving too fast, because I want you all to really get an idea of who Abraham is, who his wife is, who Hagar was, because she also played an important role. I have a lot of thoughts about Genesis. I'm just going to be honest. All of it. All of it. And we can just figure it out together. And those of you who know something about Genesis, add it to the conversation. Those of you who want to know things about Genesis, ask questions, and we can figure it out. I have my Bible. If I don't have my Bible over here, I'm using the Bible app, right? I'm using the Bible app as usual. And I will pull up some verses and we can talk about it and figure things out. Garden of Inspiration. Even though Abraham made mistakes, God remained faithful because his plans are not thwarted by human failure. Very good point. This truth is a powerful encouragement for us today. Yes, you forgot Abraham's second wife, Keturah. Abraham, how many wives did he have altogether, official? That's the question. I forgot. I didn't speak about her because I'm trying to rush through these chapters, and that's not fair to you all. It's not fair to me either, because I like details. I like the details. I like to know all the information. So, you said 2 wives, official, and you said 3 wives. Okay, well, we're gonna find out, aren't we? We're gonna find out. You all listen. If you have the time before we come back here tomorrow, try to read Genesis 13, because that's where I said we're gonna be, right? Do you feel like we talked enough about Genesis 12? Do you all feel like we talked enough about Genesis 12? You got a good idea of what Genesis 12 is? Because if you say yes, we're going to move on to 13. But if you say no, I feel like I need to talk about Genesis 12, we'll start right there. So you all let me know in the chat. Genesis 12 is where we're talking about Pharaoh and Abraham. He was Abram then, when he told his wife to say, "You're my sister," and they took her in the palace. And I myself don't even know how Abram saw what, I don't know how he allowed that to go down. I'm just gonna say that. Like, I couldn't see my husband like walking into somebody else's palace and I'm not going in there with him. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't see that happening. I'm going in the palace with you, because I don't know what kind of shady dealings are going down in that palace. And also, I'm not sending my spouse in there with some people and then let them have their way with them. Oh, no, no, ma'am. No, sir. So, as a married woman, I just wonder, like, what was Abram, what was he thinking when she was in there? I wish they would have, kind of showed us that piece in the Bible. But I know they can't tell everything and all things because the book would be so great we wouldn't be able to contain it. Like we wouldn't have enough space on the earth probably for all the stories that happened. But I just wonder, like, was Abram wondering what was happening with her? Was he curious? Did he ever like try to sneak in and look? You know what I mean? Like did he ever try to peep around the corner in the palace? Did he ever try to knock on Pharaoh's door to like, go in and see what was happening? Or did he just kind of let her go in there and was like, hey, I'm out here living my best life with the possessions I have? I don't know. What do you all think about that? Then I'm going to let you go. Geeky Girls Journal. A suggestion, turn each chapter into a YouTube live stream broadcast. A ministry series, you can get it done. I believe all of you. Yeah, I can definitely get it done. And that's Mr. Terry. That was my thought. I should have just stuck with it, like my thought last week. I should have just stuck with it. Now I'm just going to stick with that because you brought it up. It's a confirmation. So thank you very much. I'm just going to do it that way because otherwise I'm rushing. And I'm not the type of person that likes to rush through the information in the Bible. I like to get all the details. Like I like to get all the information, right? So we'll talk about 13 tomorrow. Sarah Agar Setura. What's that mean? Let me Google it. Let's Google that because I don't know what that means. Sarah Agar Cetra. Let's see, what's that mean? And Abraham married another? Is that who you're talking about? Sarah Agar. Oh! You're talking about the wives. Hagar was not his wife. Hagar was not his wife. She was Sarah's mistress. Sarah's not mistress. Sarah's servant. I don't know why I said mistress. She was Sarah's servant. So I'm glad you said that. Hagar was Sarah's servant. And you can say maid too. So she was a servant, So I'll tell you where it says that in the Bible. It should be close to... And it says, Keturah was a wife and a concubine of the biblical patriarch Abraham. Abraham married Keturah after the death of his first... Let me see. What's this say? Abraham married Keturah after the death of his first wife, Sarah. Abraham and Keturah had 6 sons. Okay. That's what Wikipedia says. And I know people can add and subtract to Wikipedia. Concubine. The Garden of Inspiration. Yeah, so that's who Hagar was, you guys. And I want to find it in the Bible so you know. Of course, I like to show you where the scripture is. It should be up there at the top, like Genesis 12, maybe before that. All right, let's see if I can find it. I'll give you a background for those of you who don't know who she is. So Hagar was the Egyptian slave and mother of Ishmael. She was Sarah's maid or slave, right? Oh, hey, Brian, you're still in here. Okay. In the Bible's book of Genesis, she is a significant figure in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But I want to see what verse it's in. That's not what I want to know. But that's some background information for you all if you didn't know. Let's see where. I just want to find exactly where it is in the Bible. Is it Genesis 16? Let's try Genesis 16. So I have Genesis 15 pulled up. I can just go right to 16. Genesis 16. Let's see. Okay, it mentions in Genesis chapter 16, verse 1, until I can find another verse that tells you exactly who she is. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, okay, you know the rest of it. She wanted her to go have relationship, and I'm saying it in that way, have, intercourse with Hagar so that they can have a child through her. Now, this was a problem. They were trying to fix the issue themselves, but this ended up backfiring and being a problem. You know why I said that? Because she voluntarily said, okay, let Hagar. Okay, this is exactly why we need to talk about this chapter by chapter, because I have a lot to say about this particular chapter as well. Good morning, Brian. Hagar became a concubine the moment Abraham slept with her. She was no longer just a maid. Thank you for that, official. So, yeah, we're going to have to just take it slow. That's what we'll do, you all. Come back tomorrow. I'm thinking, let's see, maybe I'll do 13. I think we can start. We can start at 13. That's just a lot. That's just pretty much talking about Abraham and Lot separating because they didn't have the space. So because we stopped at 12 Friday, we can do 13 tomorrow and then 14 and next day 15. And that way, we can just kind of talk about each chapter. And if you have questions, comments, or concerns, you put it over here. Because some words, I don't know if YouTube allows us to use those words, so I'm trying to choose my words wisely, official. So we all know what happens when you conceive. We know what the product is, right? If you are able to conceive, we already know what had to happen to be able to conceive. So just a little bit of reading between the lines for some people, and just in case we have young ears in here, because I know we do at times. This is a family channel, so I know we have young ears that come in. So I try to watch my words and be as careful as possible. All right, so tomorrow we'll talk about 13 and then 14. I mean, I like getting to the other stuff. If we get through 13 and we have some time to talk about 14, 15 tomorrow, we will definitely do that. All right, any other questions, comments, and concerns? But today, if you don't go away with anything else, just remember Abraham was not perfect. He was not perfect, and God was still able to use him, right? He was still able to use him, and he still blessed him. So you don't have to be perfect to come to God, is the message of today's lesson. You don't have to be perfect. So that's it. See you all tomorrow. Same time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about chapter 13, and if we have time to go into 14, we'll do that. So try to read 13 if you can, and 14. Nightbot with his 2 cents. Yep, Nightbot. Nightbot said, you all are the bomb. And I'm so glad we're connected, which is a true statement. So thank you for coming in. See you tomorrow. Read chapter 13. That's some homework. Genesis chapter 13 if you can. If not, I'll just try to explain it the best way I can tomorrow and go into 14. I want to really get to 20 for some reason. I just really want to get to chapter 20. So we'll talk about it, and you all have a great rest of your day. Be blessed. See you tomorrow. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.